Now, several high-profile cases are playing out in West Michigan courts involving child abuse related to shaken baby syndrome. Tonight, the News Channel 3 I-Team is taking a closer look at the process of identifying the condition. News Channel 3's Jared Worksma has been closely following the case of a local veteran charged with abusing his baby girl. He is live at Spectrum Children's Hospital, where he found out diagnosing the syndrome isn't so cut and dry. Right, Jared?
That's right, Kate. The doctor that I spoke with says that pediatricians are confronted with what appears to be shaken baby syndrome all too often, and the medicine only goes so far towards proving child abuse. She says that every doctor really has to become a detective in their own right. So we examine this issue through the case of war veteran Anthony McFarland and his daughter Cadence.
Anthony took the girls over to his mother's house where she was going to watch them.
Cadence's mother, Dakota Chitwood, says while there, Cadence started having seizures. So her grandparents drove her to the hospital.
Whenever I got there, I walked into Cadence seizuring. That was the hardest thing I'd ever seen. They had said something about shaken baby, and I was like, really?
3 months later, McFarland was charged with first-degree child abuse.
You have the doctors from the Children's Hospital try to put a time as to when the injury occurred, and then the police officers charged based upon that information.
McFarland's new attorney says he's argued in more than a dozen cases that the process is a crapshoot.
It's not an exact science, and to try to pinpoint the exact time that this child was hurt, if it was shaken baby, in my opinion, is virtually impossible.
So we went to Spectrum Hospital to talk to Dr. Ababa Burhani.
It's a very difficult one to diagnose because sometimes it can go unnoticed for, a few hours up to a few days.
She says pinpointing the time and cause of injury is a challenge.
Or you can have accidental head trauma that can occur. You can have bleeding disorders.
Which is very interesting based on what else doctors told Chitwood back in December.
And they had found that her left side of her brain was underdeveloped completely,
which Chitwood says doctors attributed to strokes baby Cadence suffered while still in the womb.
Anytime you have damage to the brain, shaken baby syndrome, stroke, all those things can show up as brain injury.
Now that is where Dr. Burhani says the detective work really comes in. She says that doctors have to examine the story that they are given by parents or guardians, as well as other injuries that the child may have. For example, in the case of McFarland, his daughter, according to family, had a healing spiral fracture at the time that doctors suspected child abuse. That is something that McFarland's attorney says his experts will be discussing in court. We're live tonight in Grand Rapids outside of Spectrum Children's Hospital. I'm Jared Worksma, News Channel 3.